Welcome into the Thunder basketball universe. We're tackling both ends of the spectrum today when it comes to the Thunder roster because the discussions on the table are on Thunder rookie Josh Giddey and veteran big man Mike Muscala, both of which signed new contracts with the organization this summer. So let's get right to it. It's the Thunder basketball universe. There is nothing quite like the downhill slide to the weekend in a short week. Yeah, we're coming off of Labor Day weekend, a nice long weekend. And it was more than just Labor Day weekend, though. Our very own Nick Gallo celebrated a birthday on Labor Day.
Big number 33. It's hard to believe. Paris, I know you're still like 23 or 20 or 19 or 17 or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, big birthday. Hung out with my girls all weekend, and it was a good time.
How often does your birthday fall on Labor Day?
Very frequently. That's one of the best parts about being an early September birthday.
Yeah.
Usually you get birthday week/weekend/ 4-day weekend, and you really get to soak it up.
So I didn't know where you fell on this. Like, would you rather have your birthday like during the week where like, you're around people, or I know some people prefer to not have their birthday fall on a holiday?
Oh no, I'm good with the holiday because then, and it's also like when you think about the NBA calendar, and this is my 10th year being in the NBA, like Labor Day weekend is kind of one of the last hurrahs before the season starts. Yeah. So you can usually like get people together and people are wanting to, have that last exhale before the season starts. So it's usually a good time.
Yep. And all the players are going to start coming back and we're gearing up, getting ready for preseason and training camp. Yeah. Things are starting to gear up here really quickly.
Hang on, Paris. It wasn't just me that had a big date this past week. You are celebrating your 2nd year anniversary with the Thunder. It's felt like 10 years, I think. So
yeah, it's actually kind of hard to believe that it's only been 2 because I think the pandemic season, Gallo, you said you've been here for 10 years. You like tack on an extra 5 because of the pandemic year, especially the condensed schedule, 72 games, super quick. Yeah, we all learned a lot in that time. But no, I've loved every single second of it, and I cannot wait to get going on year 3. This is going to be amazing.
It's unbelievable how far our young Paris has come. She is now a full-fledged just maven of media here at the Thunder. And I think our producer, Matt Bishop, might have a little something for us.
Yeah, well, Paris, I mean, you said it's been 2 years and it feels like forever. So I'm just curious if you can still remember what was going on 2 years ago. Nick, I'm curious to pick your brain on how much you know about the day you were born.
Okay. All right.
I think Paris is going to have a lot easier time.
I might have a leg up here.
Yeah. Okay. So here's I got 3 pop culture questions for each of you based on Paris, the week you came on board with the organization, and Nick, when you were born. So are you guys ready? Are you up for the task?
Ready to go. Let's do it.
Born ready.
Okay. I'll start with Nick. What was the #1 hit on the Billboard Top 100? This is actually from September 10th, 1988.
September 1988.
Man.
Okay.
Do I get any hints? Do I get any lifeline? Something.
A genre, at least.
They had a lot of hairspray. This band did. And they're talking about, I believe, in the song, they're talking about a daughter.
Oh.
A lot of hairspray.
Okay, this threw me off. So I could be totally off on a lot of these years, but the first song that popped into my mind before you gave me the hint was Straight Up by Paula Abdul. I don't know, just feels like something that would have been there in 1988. You said a lot of hair, and the first band I thought of was Cheap Trick.
A lot of hair. So, I'll give you one more hint. If they played it, the arena here in October of 2019.
Wow. Man, Bish, this is tough.
These are really good questions. Wait a second.
Okay, so this is a band that's still actively touring.
They broke up for a while and they got back together. Their guitar player is considered one of the greatest of all time.
You're gonna steal this from me?
No,
right
I'm
now,
not.
No. I mean,
I'm gonna be so wrong.
I'll give you one more. Their guitar player
2019.
Plays with a top hat on.
Oh. Wait, is this AC/DC?
No,
top hat. Wait.
You're getting you're getting hot.
Okay. Top hat. I should know this.
I have the face in my brain.
Oh my gosh. How do I not know this? All right, Bish, you're gonna have to give me the answer.
Okay, it's "Sweet Child of Mine" by Guns N' Roses.
Guns N' Roses.
Guns N' Roses.
Sweet Child of Mine. That was so obvious. Dang. Yeah.
How could I not remember
Okay.
October 2019? The Guns N' Roses just plastered all over the arena. I should have remembered that.
Yeah, I mean, you gave us some just perfect hints there, and I completely whiffed.
Yeah.
All right, Bish. All right,
I don't feel like I'm gonna have to give Paris as many hints, but okay.
All right.
So, Paris,
I hope
what
not.
was the number one song on September 7th of 2019?
2019. So this was.
You were
Okay.
probably listening to this coming in on your first day,
Um.
because everybody else was.
I might need one hint.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say Minnesota Vikings.
Oh,
Is it Lizzo?
it's got to be Lizzo.
Yes.
Yes, Truth Hurts. Yes. I was listening to that. You were correct. Very on brand for
All
Paris
right.
Lawson.
All right.
There we go. All right. Okay, now this one's tough. Paris, I think you're gonna get this one. Nick, I don't see any way you're gonna get this,
Okay.
but maybe you do. I'm not
All
the
right,
biggest
all right,
movie
we'll
buff
see, we'll
ever,
see.
especially with late 80s like this. But September 6th, 1988. What was the number one movie at the box office?
All right, I want one hint.
I don't even know.
Do you know the movie?
Richard Dreyfuss is in it.
Richard Dreyfuss.
I mean,
Oh gosh,
I have no help here.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I was gonna, before you said that hint, I was gonna just take like a stab in the dark and say Die Hard, just because it sounded like the right era.
there's a movie called Moon Over Parador.
Moon Over Parador.
But,
Okay.
see, I'm setting up Nick for failure already. Right?
No chance. I hope the
Haven't
third one.
even
I hope the
heard
third
of
one is
that.
a doable one for me.
Yeah. We
Okay.
may have a bonus question at the end for like double points or something.
Okay, all right.
okay, all
Winner
right.
takes all.
Okay. Number one movie at the box office, September 9th, 2019. Now, this is a little easier.
A little easier. So 2019. Oh, was this Avengers? Was Avengers out?
It was not.
It was not an Avengers movie?
Mm,
Huh.
I'll give you a hint.
yeah.
Okay.
Something about clowns and sewers.
It.
It.
Yes. It.
That was the number one
Which one?
movie?
Which one?
That was 2 years ago.
Two.
Yes.
The second one.
Oh,
yeah.
too. Okay.
It too.
I was gonna say the first one. I felt like that came out like 4 years ago.
Yeah, that was
5
a
years
while
ago.
back.
But yeah.
That's actually kind of a
Yeah.
shocker that was number one. I feel like horror films, I don't know, they don't do as well.
No. Yeah.
I don't like horror films.
All right, Bish. For the third one, can you just like ask me who the president was or something like easy?
Yeah. Okay. So this is a little more broad. This is just the number one TV show. And this is according to Esquire, by the way. Just for the year.
Number one TV show.
1988. What was the
for
number
entire
one?
year?
What was the number one TV show?
80s. Late 80s.
All right, I'm gonna guess Cheers, but I want a hint after that.
Ooh, yeah, that's close. Tom Selleck is in it.
Tom Selleck.
It's not Cheers, but it's
Okay, wait. Is this was it Miami Vice? Was he in Miami Vice or Hawaii Five-0?
It was not Hawaii Five-0.
Which one was Tom Selleck in? All right, give it to me.
Magnum PI.
Magnum
Ah,
PI. Dang.
You were on the right track. You were right down. You were going right down the right road, man.
I thought you had
Okay.
it.
All right. Okay.
Okay,
Man.
Paris. Yes.
Esquire named that TV show of the year in 1988. How far we've come.
Seriously, because now I have to. If this is going to be the same question to me, is it like cable TV show? Are we talking Netflix? Are we talking?
Yeah.
We are talking
TV.
according to Esquire. Yeah. So I'll give you a hint that you for 2019 you can't. At the time, you could not stream it, but it was on cable.
It was on cable.
Oh.
And probably not regular cable. You had to subscribe to a certain station.
Okay.
All right.
It wasn't like on your regular cable packages.
What was everyone
So
talking
probably
about?
HBO, if I had to guess.
Euphoria? No, I feel like that's a little.
That's
okay. Nick's leading you in the right direction.
Okay, so Game of Thrones?
Yeah. That was the final season.
Yes.
I think that was the final season
That's
of Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah. That was, yes.
Yeah.
That's right. I got a little too ahead of the game there with Euphoria.
Yeah.
I think that came after Game
You know
of Thrones.
nothing, Nick. No.
Wait, we have one more question.
Yeah,
this is the redemption question.
Okay. Here's the tiebreaker. So, okay, it was what, 3-1. Okay, so we'll count this for
100 points.
2 points. At least let it be a tie if I get it.
Okay. Last season, which Thunder player led the team in total, not per game, total points off turnovers? And I should have.
Can I consult my notes?
Oh, Gallo!
Whoever can get it first.
Gallo literally instinctually went to his laptop.
I'm gonna say
whoever
turnovers. I'm gonna say Kenrich Williams.
Ooh.
You're gonna have to
total points off turnovers. Total points off turnovers. I'm going with Teo Maladone.
Nope. Good guesses.
All right, total points off turnovers.
Lou Dort?
Not Lou Dort.
Darius Baisley.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Bays caught Kenrich at the very end of the season. I remember it was like he was second for a really long time behind Kenrich, and then Kenrich didn't play like the last 2 or 3 games of the year, and Bays was like on fire the last handful of games and scored a lot off turnovers.
That's right.
For the season, so.
All right. Well, considering we guessed 4 people, I think I should only get like 1 point for that. So Paris, you are the winner of the
I'll take it.
Anniversary History Challenge.
Wow.
Good job.
That was a lot of fun because we do come from 2 different eras and perspectives, both in terms of just like Thunder basketball and our perspectives there, but also just in terms of the
life history, basketball experiences, all of that. Also a good anniversary reminder is not long after you showed up on campus here, Paris, we started the Thunder Basketball Universe podcast.
This is true.
And we are about to be entering season 3 of the podcast. So be tuned for that starting late September, early October for the start of season 3.
Gonna want to tune into that. Well, since we're talking about a vet and a rookie, no, we're not talking about Paris and Nick. No. Today we're talking about Mike Muscala and Josh Giddey. 2 ends of the spectrum when it comes to the Thunder roster. A veteran, one of the lone veterans on last season's roster, Mike Muscala. And let's start with Mike because he had a pretty big summer signing a contract with the Thunder to return to this season. And that was just a valuable moment, not just for Mike, but for the organization as well.
No doubt about it. You have a guy that truly wants to be in Oklahoma City within these walls that the Thunder eye on. He was a crucial part of the last couple seasons, and just you hear guys, teammates talk about him and the value that he plays in the locker room, on the floor. He had his highest scoring year of his career last year. And so for him to kind of plant his flag in the ground as a veteran that could have gone to another city, another destination, a place where maybe they're like competing for a championship right this second. No, he decided that he wanted to be back here in Oklahoma City. And when we heard him talk at his end of season interview, I don't think any of us are surprised by that fact.
He just led with so much gratitude. And I think we all remember that very, very emotional response he gave in that end of season interview. And I think over Mike's career, if you look back over it, the 7 seasons he's been in the NBA, he's been through a lot, right? He spent the first chunk of his career in Atlanta, but before that, he wasn't even on the team with Atlanta. He was playing overseas in Santiago de Compostela in Spain.
Good pull, Paris. Nice.
Where it rained 6 out of the 7 days of the week. And so he had this unique experience where he had to kind of forge his own path a little bit, took a little bit of a winding road, and then found himself on an NBA roster and an NBA lineup. And so I think when you get into kind of how he got to where he is, you understand why he's so appreciative of where he's at now.
Right. And he came into this Thunder culture not hardly knowing anybody except for maybe 1 or 2 teammates. He was very fortunate to have been almost best friends with Dennis Schroeder when he got here already. And that was his kind of longtime partner there in Atlanta in pick and pop game and off the court. And they were rookies together, all that kind of stuff. But he was able to forge his own identity here with the organization. And I think that's one of the things that the Thunder really prides itself on, is allowing people to sort of declare themselves once they arrive in the organization. And be the person who they want to become, fulfill the type of player and person that they want to be in their careers within the walls of the organization. And so to see Mike, again, kind of re-entrench himself and decide this is where he wants to be, and then go out to Las Vegas at Summer League and sit courtside supporting those youngsters out there, working some people in pickup games out there in Vegas that we got to watch. I mean, he's going to be a valuable asset to this Thunder team on and off the floor.
He has so much to offer to the young guys on this roster. And I mentioned going overseas and playing in Spain. Well, that came into his advantage when Gabriel Deck joined the roster, because they both played in the same Spanish league overseas. And so
ACB,
they had that sort of connection. Obviously Mike majored in Spanish and Bucknell, so he had that he had that sort of education to help him as well. But I think of all of these little experiences, like learning how to stay ready even if you're not playing because your number might be called. That was Mike all last season, and then also the year before that as well. And so he's got all of these experiences that he's trying to be able to teach and pass on to the young guys on this roster as well. And I look forward to seeing how he does that, because he has such a good mentality about it. He's a very team first guy.
To be able to shoot 37% from three as a pick and pop guy, coming off the bench some nights, not really participating in the rotation on some nights, and not knowing necessarily what those nights are going to be ahead of time is really impressive stuff. Paris, you recently wrote a feature story on Mike, and just kind of recapping his season last year, looking ahead to this year moving forward for OKCThunder.com. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it really outlines everything that we just talked about in terms of Mike's mentality coming into this next season. Obviously came out of last season with just so much gratitude, which let's also not take for granted the fact that this was a pandemic season for not just obviously Mike, but the whole team, the whole organization. And so it was a shortened season, it was a compressed season, and Mike only played half of the season. And so with all of that, even still, he left feeling extremely grateful just to be able to play basketball and be a part of that organization. And that spilled over into everything else that followed for Mike, including signing the contract, showing up at Summer League, wanting to be there for his teammates. And that's just going to keep rolling into next season. And so the feature story really outlines all of that.
Mike really beat the drum on that framework that you just laid out of the gratitude and the understanding that there are people that are going through things that are way more difficult than getting COVID tested a few times a day and traveling across the country and being away from family. Like, he was on the forefront of that from the very beginning of the season. And you could just watch month by month as those types of messages continue to be conveyed by all of the teammates, youngsters, by the point that at the end of the season, like we talked about last week, it's Alexei Pokusevski, the youngest guy on the team, taking the time to make that type of statement right at the outset of his end of season interviews. So I just think there's a very easy through line that you can look at on how people approached last season and what Mike Muscala was doing.
Yes. And he obviously has a tremendous impact as a veteran, but also just the experiences that he's gone through during his time in the NBA. So he has a lot to offer coming into this next season. I look forward to seeing how he's able to kind of guide these young guys and be one of those anchoring presences on the floor, because Gallo, he also, we talk about his mentality and just his demeanor overall, but he brings a lot to the floor as well.
He can hoop.
He can hoop. The guy can hoop. He's great in the pick and pop. And we saw him do some of those things. He had a 24-point game earlier that last season and knocked down 6 threes in that game. It was just, you can see how Mike can be impactful. And the biggest thing on the floor for Mike is he plays within the flow of the game.
Paris, I remember when we were going through his game by game log. Like, anytime he scored double figures, the Thunder either won or was like right in it. And it's just so clear when you have a pick and pop threat like him, the way that the NBA is evolving, the way that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander plays, the way that the team is trying to carve lanes into the paint and then be able to kick out to open shooters and then keep the ball moving and rotating the floor. I mean, a guy like Mike Muscala is invaluable. And I think there's 30 teams in the NBA that could use a player like him. And so for the Thunder to have a guy want to come back, want to be a model for these players. I want to pull up a quote real quick from Darius Baisley, who said, "For me being a young player, I'm blessed to be around that and to see a visual model like him and look and say, that's how I'm going to be moving forward." So you have all of that off the court stuff combined with what we just talked about as a guy who is going to knock down shots for you. And he protected the rim some this year too. Now, it might not have shown up in his block shot stats, but he stuck his nose in plays a lot of times.
And he's played a lot of NBA. So he's got this catalog of information and experiences when it comes to helping a guy like Isaiah Roby prepare for a scout or prepare for going up against a big guy like Nikola Jokic. Yeah. I mean, you've got all of these experiences like Mike does, and you can start to share those things. And it just comes in handy. Things become more natural. Things become more easier and second nature. And you start to see that, especially 7 years into the NBA.
And as you're trying to get young players kind of on the same accord on the defensive side of the ball, having a veteran like Mike Muscala in place is really important to just quarterback that defense. I don't think it's any surprise that, given the number of young players at the guard and wing positions for this Thunder team, that Derek Favors and Mike Muscala are the two veteran centers on the team that will probably be playing significant chunks of minutes at points in time throughout the course of the season. And both of those guys have that internal compass of, here's where I need to be in drop coverage. Here's where I need to be up at the point of the screen. Yeah. Here's where I need to be if we're going to switch stuff. Yeah. So having those guys in place and then being able to push a guy into the right position or tell a guy, hey, you need to be over there, or just recover in time to help somebody out and cover up for somebody's mistake is going to be great.
I think from my own personal experiences, when I think back to, just playing basketball, the person you want talking the most is the big man. Yeah. Because logistically, they can see more than anybody else on the floor, right? If you're guarding the point guard, you literally can only see the point guard and maybe, to your left and to your right. But that big man that's behind you, he can see you, he can see the other 4 players on the floor. And so being able to coordinate and quarterback and be able to talk and navigate all of that is critical. It's critical and it's so important. It's always so valuable when you have a big man who not only communicates, but has a high IQ to be able to see all those things as well. One of the young guys who Mike will be helping out is Josh Giddey. And they played 2 very different positions. But let's talk a little bit about Josh Giddey, because he's coming in. He didn't really have a ton of summer league experience, but Gallo, we've seen this guy play. We've seen him play in a professional setting already, and he's coming into the NBA very young, but also very mature in other ways.
It just hit me. We were talking about Mike Muscala playing in the Spanish professional league. Josh Giddey played in the NBL, the Australian professional league. I don't think geographically you could have 2 basketball leagues further apart on the globe than those 2. And it just goes to show how much the NBA game has proliferated basketball throughout the course of the entire world. And to have these 2 guys coming together to Oklahoma City, and now they're going to be a part of the same team. It's just really cool to see the way that basketball has really revolutionized the world and sport. And as you mentioned, Josh Giddey is a guy that is the opposite in many ways of Mike Muscala in terms of experience, in terms of play style, in terms of, what they're going to necessarily bring to the table and how ready they are to, be in the right spot at every single moment of action. However, Josh does get a lot of credit, and deservedly so, for that innate IQ and understanding of the game. One of the things that Thunder general manager Sam Presti mentioned out at the very outset of, post-draft and those press conferences that we had was just Josh can see the next move on the chessboard in a very unique way that not many players at 18 years old are able to do.
It helps that he has that size that he has at a point guard position. I mean, 6'8", he's got a nice build. And so you can kind of see over players. That's always helpful as a point guard. But Gallo, I want to go back to Josh's trajectory to get to where he is now, because it was different. It was different in Australia when he was growing up. He had 2 professional basketball players as parents. So the household already had that basketball kind of culture to it, but he didn't think that he was going to play professionally until way later.
He's just kind of one of those guys that has chipped away and chipped away and chipped away. And we talked earlier about just how the game has grown throughout the course of the world. And Josh is a guy that really benefited from Basketball Without Borders. Yeah. He's a guy that went to camps where Ben Simmons and some of these other big-time Australian players that have gone and jumped into the NBA, they were there as camp counselors, basically, and Josh was looking up to them. And he told me for a story that I did that dropped on Wednesday at OKCThunder.com about how he would be in those guys' DMs, like hoping to get a response, and now he's going to be playing against them and across the court from one another. And as he got some experience this summer, for the Boomers, the Australian national team in the lead up to the Olympics. He was able to work out and train with those guys. Ultimately didn't make the final roster there. But you think about all of the veteran players and Patty Mills and others that are just, household names in the NBA, and Josh Giddey is getting to work out with those guys. So some other fun details from the story that I did on Josh's path to the NBA is really just some insights about the pre-draft process. And I know that fans always want to know the ins and outs of how does a guy end up getting drafted one place and how does this all work. And one of the things that stood out to me the most was a story that Sam Presti told about how Josh had to, take a 14-hour flight from Australia. He connected in California. He landed in Chicago for the draft combine. And his very first interview was with the Thunder. And Josh was basically rolling right off the plane.
Right.
Into that interview and then into a workout.
From the other side of the country.
Other side of the world. Yeah.
Sorry.
The country and the world before that.
Yes.
Right? And so, Sam, I think that was one of the things that was most impressive was like, this guy rolled into the interview with energy, with enthusiasm, and he was ready to work out. And while most guys probably would have been like half asleep, head down, drooling on the desk, he was ready to go. And so that relationship just continued. And this was just like a little bit more, bit more. And those incremental wins. You think about big picture with what the Thunder is operating in right now is like, you want those incremental gains and improvements. And that's sort of the path that Josh took with his relationship with the Thunder in the pre-draft process too.
And then by the end of it, we heard once he got drafted that the Thunder was his top choice. Yeah. He was hoping and really, really asking to make sure, I really want to be in Oklahoma City for multiple reasons. Yes, he has had great experiences with Sam Presti, great interviews, despite the fact that he flew all the way across the world before sitting down and talking with him. But also, Gallo, you talk about it being a small world. How about the fact that his sister plays at Oral Roberts University in Tulsa? Yeah. Which is right down the road from where he's going to be right now.
This is nuts that's coincidence coming together into just the fruition of something beautiful for that family. I joked with when I was up there in New York for the draft, I just joked with his family like, hey, holidays are going to be a heck of a lot easier than they have been in the past.
Meet up in Oklahoma.
Yeah. So, and I know his family is super pumped and thrilled, and they were just beaming that night. Him and his sisters and both of his basketball playing parents. And so it's going to be a thrill to watch him just suit up for this Thunder team. I know he and Thunder fans were disappointed that he had that ankle injury a minute and a half into that first summer league game out there in Las Vegas, but we did see the one little flash of a driving dunk on the very first play, actually, for the Thunder in that summer league game. But just from all the reports that we're hearing, Paris, coming out of the Thunder Ion and workouts and the coaching staff, the Thunder's got a good one. And they've got a guy that can really amplify the talents of those around him, can put pinpoint passes to players to put them in positions to succeed.
One thing I'm really looking forward to, obviously there's a lot to be optimistic about with Josh on the floor this upcoming season. I really, really am interested in the shoe game. Yeah. He is big into sneaker culture, and he's got a lot of those kicks. I'm just always fascinated to see what he walks on the floor with, and it's different every single time. The draft, he had a great pair of shoes. He did. Kept it simple with some white sneakers with the suit. So I don't know. I feel like I just need to keep my eye on Josh Giddey's feet.
I tell you what, the concrete runway inside Paycom Center is going to be a heck of a lot different than whatever's going on out there in the NBL. I'm sure they've got a great culture, fashion game going on over there, but it can't compare to what we got going on in OKC and in the NBA.
Facts. That is all for today's podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to like, rate, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much to our producer, Matt Bishop. That was a really fun game. And until next time, Thunder up and catch you later.